Welcome to the Limitless Potential podcast, where together we will dive into the personal, business, and career-rich tips, techniques, stories, and experiences of some incredibly successful and inspirational people, each with their own perspectives and journeys, and each with golden nuggets of wisdom which might just change your life. I'm Tracy Stone, and I'm a master trainer in a number of career supercharging techniques, a transformational coach, international best-selling author, inspirational speaker, and a woman discovering and evolving my very own limitless potential day by day.
I went to yoga and more play.
Hi, and welcome back for another episode of the Limitless Potential podcast. And today I'm so delighted to welcome the lovely Stacey Yates Sellar, who joins us from beautiful Greece. Stacey is a best-selling author and a double certified coach, and she has created Happier by the Minute to break down the research and the rigor of positive psychology and conscious parenting into bite-sized morsels, easy to digest for busy, stressed parents. Any of you out there, I bet you can resonate with that. Her motivational content began with 1-minute videos and it grew into a top-rated happiness podcast, masterclasses, workshops, private and group coaching, and international speaking engagements. She has been published in 3 international best-selling books, including Ignite Your Parenting. Stacey already had 20 years of personal improvement and child development experience when she became the mom of a child with learning differences and ADHD. She then immersed herself even deeper into child development research, neuroscience, and self-regulation. She had such great success with her own children that she knew she had to share the secrets of her success with other parents. And now, with over 10,000 followers, she has positively impacted thousands of parents and children, improving relationships, decreasing stress, and hopefully saving children from years of therapy in later life. And who doesn't want that? So in 2020, Stacey's metamorphic journey through conscious parenting method with Dr. Shefali led her to quit her 16-year career as an executive in a multi-million-dollar business and leave the Silicon Valley bubble. She's living her dream as a mom and a conscious parenting method coach, and she and her husband Barry travel the world. They school their 2 boys, Dashiell and Declan, and they currently reside in Greece for now. That could always
For
be
now.
for now. And she's here with us today to talk about her own journey and how she taps into her limitless potential. Welcome, Stacey, and thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, thank you so much. Wow. That's a lot. And I've been through a lot and learned a lot and studied a lot and tried a lot. And so I'm super excited to share it with you. So thank you for having me.
We're so excited. So, Stacey, as we always do, let's start the journey at the beginning. If you would, can you tell us, please, what life started out like for you as a little girl?
Oh, goodness. You know, in conscious parenting, we delve a lot into our own childhood because what we realize is that the child that needs to be parented is really our own inner child before we can actually even parent the children around us. So I grew up in a big family, 5 kids, and in Silicon Valley, you know, in the 80s, the 90s, when it was all kind of booming. But I was always a very sensitive child, very depressive child, had a lot of anxiety, went through a lot of depression, but I had both of my parents, but my father was very much into psychology and into not alternative ways, but just ways of really doing personal development. So really early on, I started reading personal development books and listening to recordings and listening to Tony Robbins on the cassette tape and a Walkman as I'm doing my walks. So, way back then when we used to have those. And so I was working on it forever, and I always had an interest in kids. And so always worked in preschools and daycares and actually in homes for abused children. And so you can only connect the dots looking backwards, but it all kind of made sense. And I happened into a Silicon Valley job, building medical spas. And I was like, I don't know how I ended up here, but it was great. Got to do a lot of personal development, a lot of coaching within the walls there, helping people love their jobs. But it was getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And I thought, I've always been a kitchen table coach. Like, I'm always the one in the break room who's saying, what more do you want? And if people would quit their job, I'd be like, I'm so excited for you. What are you going to do next? Like, I wasn't the one who's like, no, you have to stay in this box forever. And at the same time, as I was starting to think about becoming a professional coach, I had 2 young children, and one we were really starting to see some special needs. They diagnosed him with ADHD, which, by the way, I have retermed a dear human developing. There are no morbid diagnoses in our family, nothing negative, no dysfunctions or disabilities. Everything, we're all neurodiverse. And so I studied positive psychology, conscious parenting. And then when 2020 hit, I always knew that I wanted to travel. I didn't believe in the traditional school system. My job was, starting to dwindle. The coaching was rising, and it just all was like, time to go. And let's go head out and see the world and world school our kids. And it's just been an amazing, amazing journey.
And that
was a very long answer.
I love it. But it's a huge leap, isn't it, to make, to rip yourself away from the corporate career, which is flourishing. It's doing really well. I'm quite sure you were earning very well for having great skills. But being brave and making that jump into what feels like the unknown. It's not unknown because you know the tools, the techniques, the skills that you've got, what you want to do. How did you handle that transition? You touched on it in there, but that is a huge jump to make. And I know there's a lot of people out there that would love to be able to make that kind of a leap. So how can you help them to describe that?
That is such a good question. And the reality is you don't just make the leap, one morning. I'm going to tell you a secret. I'm going to write a book one day, and it's going to be called The Fourth Rope. And it's based on the fact that you have a boat. If a boat is tied to a dock, it's tied with 4 ropes. And when you let go of the first rope, you see very little movement. When you let go of the second rope, it's moving a little bit. It's ready to go a little bit. It's not until the third rope that it's pulling away more than it's being held. But it isn't until the 4th rope where it can sail off on its own without being held back. And the reality is in your journey, there's always a first rope, a second rope, a third rope, and a 4th rope. And what happened in 2020 was just the 4th rope for me to really go off and be sailing. But where I really want to help people's understanding where you are, the first rope is really just awareness that I want something different. When you're moving into the second rope, where to believe that something can be different, and that you can change your beliefs and you can change the conditioning that you have. I mean, I didn't just leave a corporate job. I left my family of origin where I'd grown up for, 50 years, and my parents and my siblings and my friends. So, but that is where the 4th rope is, where you say, I am willing to leave old stories, old beliefs, old conditioning, where other people might be stuck for their own, wherever they are, no judgment, but wherever they're stuck, that I don't need to stay there too. And so, it's preparation. It's work. It's believing. So again, it's a journey, and it's preparedness, and but I think what's even more important than what do you finally need when you make the leap is to understand that every time you get this little whisper in your ear, this little, gosh, I really would love to do that. For anybody out there that's thinking, gosh, I'd really love to do that, you wouldn't hear that whisper if you weren't meant to do it, if you didn't think you could do it. We're not given those messages. Like, I'm not given a message to become a professional football player because I'm not meant to be that. But I get other whispers. And if you hear that whisper, then just start following it. Start seeing where it gets a little bit louder. Is it over here? Is it over here? What could I try? And, I tried a lot of different things. It wasn't an overnight success, and that you keep doing it. But I think first, don't push away the whisper.
I think that's great advice. I know a lot of people are in kind of two different camps. One, they're in that corporate job or some kind of a paid employment where there's some form of security. And it's hard to leave that security, isn't it? And branch out into the big world, knowing the thing that, well, I want to go and do this. I want to be a coach, or I want to be a whatever. But there's a lot of other people who know that they want out of that corporate career or that paid employment to be doing their own thing, but they don't know how to find what it is.
Yeah.
Any advice for those people? Because I often think people know a lot more about what it is they want to do. It's just the little voices of fear that they keep on listening to that are telling them that doesn't work, that won't work, you won't be able to get paid from that, or you can't do it, or there's people doing it. How do you help people who might say, I don't know what I want to be doing, but I know it's not this?
Yeah. Well, don't quit your day job first. Like, I also made sure I had money in the bank, and I made sure that I did it the right way. And it's interesting because I live with this community of people now that travel around, digital entrepreneurs, and it's called Boundless. And, you can find it boundless.life. And it's about the community of people. And they started this group so that we could move around the world and also have a school for our children. They've created a non-traditional, really progressive school based on the Nordic system, and on the Finnish school system. And it's been so amazing to be surrounded by other people that don't want their kids in traditional school. So I think what keeps people, and so a lot of people there's people that are like, I want to do it, but I don't know how to do it. And there's people that don't want to do it. Because a lot of it, and I think as interesting as it sounds, what is greater, your desire to live a really full, adventurous life, or your fear? When your desire is greater than your fear, you're going to do it. So I think the number one thing is to start now. 100%, I would encourage anybody to get a digital job. Like, figure out how to build a career online so that you have the freedom. And whether, even if you're a chef in a restaurant, how do you become a chef on YouTube? You're a makeup artist, how do you become a makeup? And there's a million makeup artists, but none of them are you. None of them are the person who's going to do it a little bit different. And so, find a way to get a digital job, even if it's to figure out how to be a virtual assistant. It doesn't need to be glamorous. You don't need to have some magical talent yet. There's a million coaching schools. There's a lot of different ways, but I would encourage, just start. That's what I did. I was like, ooh, do I take this coaching course or do I take this one? And I just sort of waited for divine intervention. And then I went, okay, I'm going to take that one. And taking that class led to one other thing. And it led to me meeting somebody else. And then that led to me meeting somebody else and doing something else and then going here. So you don't have to be able to see that A will take you to Z. You just need to start A. And then if A doesn't feel like it's the right one, then you just make a U-turn and you go to B. And you just keep trying until you find something. But you learn from everything. And I know I'm babbling, but this is really important because it isn't always about the destination. It is the journey. And I know that sounds so trite, but take a course that seems super interesting to you and then enjoy that. Don't think of it as this is the thing that's going to make me a YouTube star, or this is the thing that's going to, make me an overnight, $1 million coach. No, enjoy what that has to offer and then see what the next step is and reach out and connect and talk to people. But just keep following the whisper, keep following the scent, and then see where it leads you. But enjoy the journey, the practice, the frustration, the difficulty, the stress, the unknowing. My whole life is uncertain right now. I don't know where we're going after Greece, and I'm not 100% sure how long, if we're going to be here past the middle of October. But I don't know. But then we might go to Italy in January, and then for 3 months, and then we for sure don't know where we're going. So it's okay. I live out of a suitcase. I can handle so much. Life is so free when you have less stuff too.
That's amazing. And it's an entirely different lifestyle, and it's becoming more and more popular, but it still is kind of in its infancy as well. Very progressive, very, very different from the norm. How would you say your whole family has adapted to it and developed from it? And this world schooling,
Yeah.
how does that work for you guys?
So I have a very progressive family and who are very encouraging and supportive. So I'm really lucky on that front. A lot of families here get a lot of pushback from their families. And when we were traveling before we had Boundless and the Boundless School, we were just world schooling for a year and basically unschooling our kids. My family is super supportive. I'm married to a Scottish man. Now, if you know anything about those British people, they're very conservative. And so they weren't very happy and they were very concerned. But my job was not to change them and convince them. My job is to follow my heart, to understand where they're coming from and to not push back and mostly not to let it interfere with our own gut feelings and what we really wanted to do. Because you can question yourself as a mom, like, what am I making the right choice? Oh my gosh, what am I doing? I've done enough study about the traditional school system that I'm very confident in the choices that I'm making. So I was able to say, I love you, and I know your concern is coming from a really great place, and you're just gonna have to trust us. And that's kind of it. And we can talk about it or we don't have to talk about it. But I didn't go into the table with, do you know what traditional school is doing to your children and sucking the life out of them? No, I didn't. So I said, I trust it's all going to work out.
And you used a magic word in there in that conversation that really always resonates with me and that I use a lot. When you're saying that you had that conversation with them and you say, look, I know that this sounds strange to you. Instead of but, you said and.
Mm-hmm. I use it all the time. Magic word.
It's so vital. And it's one of those words that if you swap out but, throw it away, and substitute and, it entirely changes the conversation that you have, whoever it's with.
Absolutely. So true.
So how did this whole new lifestyle how did you make it fit for your husband and your children? Did your husband have to quit his job? Was he able to take his job on the road? How does that work for
my
him?
husband he took his job on the road because he was a stay-at-home dad. So that worked out really well. So now having exactly. Yeah. So he had to come. So actually, and since we've been here, he's decided to start a dropship company, and he's just trying it out. It's very slow. It's not as easy as the course he took said it was going to be. It's challenging. It's frustrating. And so we're navigating that piece too. My children were 6 and 9 when we left, so fairly young. My youngest had only gone to kindergarten for 4 months, so didn't even know what he was going to be missing. And my oldest, it it was challenging to find the right school setting for him. So he certainly wasn't, I think what people are afraid of is, what about friends? And I'm like, okay, first of all, I don't have any of the same friends I did from elementary school. I know it's a big thing mostly for men, and a lot of girls have it, but I don't have the same beliefs that their life is going to be ruined because they don't have these friends from elementary. What's even more amazing is we've joined this group. They make instant friends wherever they go. They're way more adaptable. They made friends in a cohort in February and March, and that family left, but then that family just came back now, and now he's reunited with this friend. It's like he's got friends from all over the world, and they kind of come and they go, and as we move through around the world, and it's just really it's amazing to see. Now my older one is 11 now, so he's starting to say, you've ruined my life, taking me out of America. But he doesn't know, and I think that's a big challenge for parents, is like, would it be the right thing for my children? And I think, look, home is where we are together, and if I was yelling and hitting and treating my children terribly and forcing them to do homework wherever we were in the world, would not be better, even if we were in a stable one place, than if we're moving around and I'm a conscious parent and I'm giving them all the skills that they need to be a happy, healthy human. Like, it doesn't matter where we are, and they're getting so much out of this that they don't even know yet. And so I can say, you can be, I use and a lot with my kids, you can feel that way, and we can still figure out how to make this work. And we can still find all the things we love about it. And we can still go back to America every December. And we can look at where we want to go next year, next month. And you get to decide what we do this weekend. So many things.
And that just changes everything in it.
Mhm.
It's no longer an ultimatum, because you could say, well, you can say that, but, and that makes it an ultimatum.
Yeah, totally, absolutely. And it negates their feeling. You can feel bad and we can still go. Like, that's something we all need to learn for ourselves. I can be nervous and I can still do it. Instead of, I'm nervous, but I have to do it anyway. It's an and. It's great.
And you touched in there, Stacey, on conscious parenting. Now, again, this is becoming more and more to the forefront, but there's probably a lot of people that don't know a lot about what that is, other than what they might imagine it to be. Now, you've studied under the wonderful Dr. Shefali. So can you tell us a little bit, please, about either that experience or your views on conscious parenting and what it is and how it changes things, or how to put it into practice?
Yeah, I have. I've been studying with Dr. Shefali for like 3 years now, and very close to her, and it has changed everything for me. And I read her book when my first son was born. So I've been following her all this time, but then to be certified as one of her coaches just takes you to a whole new level. And what I like to say is, conscious parents aren't better parents or perfect parents. We just understand and see how imperfect we are more, and we accept our imperfections more, and so then we work on them more. And conscious parenting is about really looking at yourself as a parent and how you respond to your child. And then I've taken conscious parenting and combined it with the neuroscience and the positive psychology, and how to parent ADHD, because and look, at anything I do for my ADHD child, I do for my neurotypical child. I just do it a lot more and a lot more intensely, with a lot more patience with my special needs child. So, but it really is about looking at yourself and, what are the triggers that I have and why do I have them? And then what are the beliefs that are causing those triggers? And is it, familial conditioning, religious conditioning, social conditioning? Am I reacting because I don't want my child to make me look bad in front of all these other parents? Like, really knowing, where are you getting triggered and why is that bothering me, so that then I can meet my child where they're at. And then when they're having a tantrum, I don't go into a tantrum. I go into, I am your guide here on this planet. If you're having a tantrum and you're breaking things, I'm not going to send you to your room. I am going to say, God, this is so much. You are having an explosion of feelings right now that your little body and brain cannot figure out, cannot handle. I am here with you. I am here to help you move through it. And then later we're going to talk about it and see how we can prevent it and how we can recover and repair. That's what conscious parenting is. Way more than, or way different than the archaic and old school and outdated timeouts, punishment. If you don't do your homework, you're going to lose your iPad. Like, we're not teaching them anything about, first of all, you got to figure out, why is it that they don't want to do their homework? Are they tired? Are they hungry? Is it unnecessary? Answer, yes. Is it difficult for them? Is there some lagging skill that they're struggling with? Figure out what the problem is. Stop trying to fix the behavior of the tantrum and fix what's causing it. And then when you connect with your child like that, everything else is so much easier.
Wow,
so much easier.
Cool. And you work with parents to help them in this conscious parenting method. You are a qualified coach. Can you give us any kind of stories or examples of parents that you've helped, what their problem was and what you did to help them, what techniques they're maybe using and how it's changed things for them?
Oh, yes. I'll pick the one that is just the most recent. So I was just with a lady and she was telling me, she's a young mom, husband is gone, there's no dad. He was a violent dad and husband. And she was saying, and she does treatments for women, facial treatments at her house. And she has just a little 5-year-old boy. And he would come in to whenever she was doing the treatments in her house and say, Mommy, my truck is broken, or Mommy, I need this, or Mommy, I need this. She would say, Nico, Mommy's working, go away, Mommy's working. And he would just escalate and start tantruming, and then he'd start hitting her, and then he'd start throwing. And I said, just try one time. Tell your client, who will absolutely, if they're a mother, understand, and say, just give me 2 minutes, please. And the minute he says, Mommy, I need you, you say, my client, please give me 2 minutes, and turn to him and get down on his level and say, Nico, what do you need? How can I help you? Mommy, my truck is broken. Oh, I see your truck is broken. And Mommy will absolutely, I would love to fix this, but you know what? Let's get the blue truck instead right now. Look at this blue truck, and then Mommy can fix the red truck later. And what else? Is that okay? Could we do that? And look at how well the blue truck, a little distraction at that age and redirection. Do you think that the blue truck would work as well? And, it goes deeper, it's bigger, it makes sounds, whatever you need to do to get him interested in the other truck. And so she came back to me. She was like, I can't even believe how well that works. Like, literally, he's an angel child. He is a different child. He grew up like 10 years in that one moment. He is now an angel. He is now, and I'm like, he's not any different. You're different. You're treating him different. You're seeing him different. You're talking to him different. He's exactly the same child. He just needed your attention.
That's amazing. I love that. Most of all, I love that end piece where you said it's not him, it's you. And we miss that so often. We're always looking to change the other person in our relationships.
Yeah.
We're looking to mold them into what we think they should be.
Yeah.
And we all do it at times. But
of course,
we should be being the person that we should be to make the best out of the relationship, each relationship. So just by changing that one thing that she did, it was actually her making the change and he was just responding.
It was beautiful. It was so beautiful. And then she said, okay, let me talk about my nephew and my brother. And he, they yell at him and they're always doing this. And so I told her, okay, you bring that cousin, the child, over to your house. And she said, oh, I can't because he's always hitting my son. And I said, yeah, because he wants power. He wants to feel important because in his home, he has no power. He's not important. You, as soon as he walks in the door, you give him all kinds of, you're the big cousin and you're going to teach your little cousin how to behave, how to, be kind and be polite and how to share. And I ran into her at the store just today and she was like, oh my gosh, they were perfect. They were angels. It couldn't have gone any better. And now they're holding hands into school. And the older one is so proud to be his, little mentor. And she's like, I can't believe how it works. And again, it's not that we're changing the children and we're just seeing them and hearing them. So much of the conflict that parents struggle with is that they're looking through a lens of this is not the child I expect. This is not the behavior I want. This is not what it's supposed to look like. It doesn't look like the sitcom child I'm supposed to have. Take the lenses off, see the child, be with the child. Don't try to change the child. I'm not trying to change my ADHD child. I'm trying to help him live with all the chaos that's going on in his head and learn the tools that he needs to be able to have a fabulous, incredible life. Now, do I want him to, speak Mandarin and play the piano and be able to, be a star, Messi player, or Christian Ronaldo? Yeah, absolutely, we all do. But that's just this fantasy that we've been sold as moms that somehow means we're a better mom, and it doesn't. We can be the best mom by just allowing them to unfold and blossom into whoever they're meant to be, that they got here to be.
So right. That's so wise. So for parents who think that sounds amazing, I would love that. But I'm going to be judged by everybody. Everybody's going to say, what is wrong with you? What are you doing? Your child is in control here, because it's not the way people would kind of usually be, that relationship
Yeah.
shift. How would you help explain to a parent who says, I can't do that because people are going to say I'm nuts?
Okay. And then what? That's what I'm going to say to them. Like, we're not here to please all those other people. I have had that. I have a brother-in-law who is an only child and doesn't have children and thinks I am the worst parent because he came from a very disciplined home and he thinks I let my child get away with everything. But I don't. There are boundaries. There is, I mean, I don't even use the word discipline because that's just a fancy word or consequences, because that's just a fancy word for punishment, either of those. And so I am always teaching. I'm always teaching. Everything's a learning moment. So my job is to not let that get into my head and go, oh, God, maybe I am too permissive. Maybe I am a bad parent. No, I'm always learning. I'm always trying to be better. I'm always evolving. I'm always studying. So I know that I'm not just sitting back and, saying, oh, well, I'll just let him do whatever he wants. That's not what it is. But my job isn't to teach him that. He doesn't have kids. He'll never understand. And maybe he will one day, but he's not open. If he hasn't said, it's interesting what you're doing, tell me more. Okay, then I'll tell them. But my job isn't, okay, here's one of my absolute favorite quotes that is the perfect answer for this. People are allowed to be wrong about you. We don't have to convince everybody that what we're doing is right. What I can show is the evidence that the outdated, archaic way of disciplining and punishing children doesn't work, especially on these newer generations. It is only going to make it worse. There's so much evidence. And there's so much evidence that says this really does work. The people who don't want to change are afraid. They're afraid of a new way. They don't know enough yet. They don't know enough to feel confident in it. I didn't feel confident in the beginning in it. And by the way, don't project onto me that somehow because I studied this, I'm a perfect parent. I make mistakes every day. Dr. Shafali will be the first to tell you she makes mistakes and that she battles her own patterns and her own conditioning every day. We all do. And so it's just the work to rise above the conditioning and be a little bit better and be able to say to your child, oh, I messed that up. I'm sorry. I was really tired. Mommy really was tired and spent a lot of time making that dinner. And I was upset that you didn't like it. But you know what? You're allowed to not like it.
That
You're allowed.
quote really did tie it all up together so beautifully. What was it? Was it people? It's okay for people to be wrong about you.
Yeah. People are allowed to be wrong about you. We spend so much time trying to convince people that we're right. And conscious parenting so much is about that we don't need to be right. I don't need to be right for the people outside of it. And, a lot of the challenge that people have is that one parent will become interested in conscious parenting, but the other parent won't. And we always err on the side of consciousness. So if my husband were to say, no, you need to give him a timeout, I'll say, okay, or whatever. I probably wouldn't be in a marriage like that. Luckily, my husband's super open and he goes along for the ride and he's learning too. There is a point where you choose, you may have to choose, but that's where I would say, okay, we're going to go do a timeout, and I'll go into a timeout with them and then say, let's talk about what just happened. Okay, how can I help you? What do we, and go into another room. And I don't have to do it in front of my husband, but always protect the child because they're the innocent one. They didn't ask to be here, put in this situation. They don't know what they're doing. Their little prefrontal cortex is not developed. They have no idea about the future and the consequences and what it's going to lead to. All they know is right now and what they want right now. And you cannot blame them for that. And you can't punish them for that.
Certainly, no, you can't, but they do get punished. You must see a lot of practices and behaviors that are distressing as well when you are working with parents. How do you help them to break the habit of that distressing behavior?
That's a really good question. I just had a client last week who was telling me that she was so mad at her child for running out of the store that she took him in the bathroom and pulled down his pants and smacked him. And it is like so hard for me to hear that, but I understand it. She felt so out of control. She doesn't know any other way. It's the only conditioning she's seen or learned. So I don't judge that, but I do tell her, you have to stop that right now. And the way to do that is to switch your thinking of, for my child at the end of the day to be able to stand next to me while I'm, self-scanning and checking things out is beyond his ability right now. So my job, if I have to take him to the store, is to look for alternatives to not taking him to the store, is to find a way that makes it tolerable. And I know a lot of people don't want to use devices or, I have no problem. I'll give you my phone for the 10 minutes to watch some kind of educational show so that I can check out. The damage that spanking that child and yelling them did was far greater than the damage of watching 10 minutes of an educational cartoon. So, but people get very caught up in, I'll never let them use devices. And that's not what, I don't know what her thing was, but you need to make it tolerable for them instead of putting them in a position that's beyond their control. And if you say, well, they should be able to control that. Okay, but they didn't. So all I know is that they can't because they didn't. So we just need to look at the facts. And then she, lets me know that her husband hits, and there's a lot around that. What the best tip I could give her is, when you're in that situation, we need to understand the zones of emotions, that we are in a green zone when we can learn something and when we're able to be compliant. We are in an orange zone when we're starting to get a little escalated, and the red zone, full on tantrum. Nobody's learning anything. All we got to do is calm down. What you want to do in order to avoid the spanking or whatever that is, start learning how to control your own emotions and what that means. Get creative. This is why we do courses, right? You learn the strategies, but also, I lost my train of thought. So, is to understand that he's getting in the orange zone. If he gets to the red zone, that's when I lose it. That's when I'm starting to spank. So I need to start noticing long before we just start getting into the orange zone. What are those behaviors? What does he start acting like? What does he start talking like? So that I can catch that train before it runs me over.
Wow, deep.
It's all skill building, skills and knowledge. There's only two ways that we get out of this: knowledge and action. You know, you can't solve a problem with the sane mind that got you into it. So you need to learn something new, and then you got to practice it, be held accountable. That's why when I do my courses, I don't sell a course and leave you to do it. 70% of people don't ever start a course they buy. 3% actually finish. So I always do courses where you take a lesson and we meet a few days later and we go over it. I'm holding you accountable. Did you watch it? How's it applying to you right now? What are you struggling with? Okay, let's move on to the next skill.
Yeah. People find it hard to be motivated into the action. They love the idea of it. They go in with good intentions. But as you're saying, 3% actually see through any course, and it is so true. So what does working with you look like? When it's a course, what is that course like? How long does it take? And what kind of journey do people go on in that course?
Yeah, so there's different ways. There's one-on-one coaching, and then there is a 9-week, very intense. It's very intense, but it goes everywhere from understanding. The 9 pieces are: know your destination. Where do we want to go? What are the values we want our children to learn? Let's start there. Then know your child. You have to understand the child that you have in front of you is not the fantasy child that you thought you were getting. What's the child you have? What are the behaviors? What are the delays? What are the diversities? Then we need to know ourselves. Okay, once we understand what are our triggers, where do they come from? What are the expectations that we hold? Then we can start moving into how do we have strategy around behavior? What do? We need to see the behavior, we need to understand it, then we can start stopping it, and then we can understand how to recover from the behavior. And then the last 3 are how to boost your child. Like, what do we do in the in-between times? I say you should be giving 4 compliments to every one time you say no. 4 yeses to every one no. Because you want to have them feel empowered and in control. So, give them the choice to pick whichever shirt they want. Yes, you can pick that. Yes, you can do that. Oh, no, you can't pull the cat's tail. But yes, you can feed the cat. Yes, you can play with the little toy with the cat. Yes, what are all the yeses? Don't get stuck in the nose. And then there's boosting yourself. What do we need to do to take care of ourselves so that we have a full battery? Because I'll tell you, when I lose my stuff is when my battery's low, when I'm tired, when I haven't been taking care of myself. I have a lot less to give. And then the last one is how to boost your future. And I tie a lot of positive psychology into, what are the things that you can really do to boost your family's journey and where you want to go and what you want it to look like. And so with that, again, you sign up and then you get the course, a lesson delivered like every Sunday, and then we'll have a scheduled time to meet on a Thursday. So you've got 4 days to watch it, take notes, and then we'll meet. And then I also do that in a group, or I do that privately. And then I also coach for Dr. Shafali. I do an online. I told her, I said, you have all these people buying your courses and they may not be finishing it, and we need them to finish. We need them to do the work. We need them to do it. So let me take them through it. Let me give them the lesson the same format, and then let me meet with them. And so I do that as well, because I really, really want people, the intentions are good, but you can't be successful with just the intention. And you know that with the work that you do, of course.
Absolutely right. I love so much of what you're describing of that journey, of that transformational journey. But also in there, you talked about how when your battery is low, not just you as Stacey, but you as in the parent, when your battery is low, it needs topping up and you need to learn how to look after yourself. So what advice do you have, or what techniques can you share for parents they easily can get to that point where you think, just everybody leave me alone. You want to scream.
I'm only going to give you one. I'm going to give you one that will be life-changing. Schedule it. Put it on your calendar, because moms don't schedule self-care. They say, you know what, on my birthday once a year, I'll go out for a massage or a facial. But schedule in there your meditation from right after you drop off and meditating. By the way, meditating is obviously the other one that is life changing. I tried for 10 years to meditate, took me forever to finally get it to click. And when it did, it's life changing, because meditation is not the practice of getting good at meditating. It's the practice of getting good at life, because the practice of meditating is coming back to the breath, oh, I'm going to think about dinner. Oh, I'm going to think about, I need to get the car clean. Come back to the breath, come back to the breath. So that when your child starts losing it, come back to the breath, come back to the breath. You don't spin off into the future and spin off into the past. Come back to the breath, stay present, stay present, stay present. So meditation, but you need to schedule it. So I can tell you to meditate, but if you don't put it on your calendar, I drop them off at school, I pull into a cul-de-sac, which I used to do, swear to you. And 20 minutes, I would just put on a YouTube meditation in a cul-de-sac and just do it. Because in my car, nobody's bothering me, phone's not ringing. Schedule a massage once a month. Schedule a lunch with your girlfriends. Relationships are one of the greatest key indicators for a healthy, well-lived life. Not fame, not money, not job, healthy relationship. Don't go to lunch with the ladies that gossip. Go to lunch with the ladies who boost you up and who want to learn something new. Go to a book club. Like, do something that feels good, but put it on your calendar.
You're so right. I absolutely agree with you. And so many people say, I'm too busy for that. I don't have time for that. You don't have time to not do it, I think, is more to the point, that you can't be strong, you can't be balanced, you can't feel yourself if you're not looking after yourself. So actually, it's not a nice to have. This is a necessity to find the thing, whether it's a bubble bath, meditating in your bubble bath. It is, you 10 minutes out of the house to have a cup of tea somewhere elsewhere. Lunch.
And if you're a single mom and you don't have the support of a dad, then or a babysitter or a sibling, then get a girls group together, because I promise you there are other single moms who are struggling with the same challenge. And so once a week, each of you take each other's kids, you just swap. And even if it's, for 1 hour, they're just going to watch TV at my house. So you can go for a walk, or you can go do something that's really, but don't schedule that hour and then scroll through Instagram.
Stacey, we lost just a few seconds of you there.
Oh, sorry.
That's no problem. Just it cut out for a few seconds. So you were saying, don't schedule that hour and put useless stuff into it. Unimportant.
Exactly. Don't. Exactly. Yeah. Don't go on a Netflix binge, and don't, listen to a podcast. I know a lot of people love this crime podcast stuff, but don't listen about murders and things that are really unhealthy. And you can do that for joy some other time, but this is your build up time. Schedule a massage, body work, mind work, breath work. Like, do something that is very shown to increase the serotonin and the dopamine in your brain, increase the blood flow. Do those things. Don't do something that's going to suck from you. Do something that's going to fill you.
Totally agree. And if you don't take accountability for arranging that for yourself, why would anybody else? So don't wait for people to do it for you, or to tell you that you are worthy of it or deserving of it. Consider yourself worthy, know that you are deserving of it, schedule it in, and find a way to make that happen.
It's so much about what we think and we tell ourselves. I mean, that's a lot of the work that I've done, and I'm not perfect at it. I still beat myself up over a million things a day, but I don't wake up beating myself up. I really have worked hard to change the record tape of I don't have enough. It's hard to make money. Like, I can't even think of them right now, because every day I say money comes easily and effortlessly to me. I don't know where it's coming from, but it's going to come. Like, I just tell myself that enough that I believe it. And when I'm around people who come from lack and a lot of, oh no, but it's hard. I love you and I need to go. I mean, because I can't I can't let that energy suck the life out of me. And again, no judgment. That's where they're at. I'd love to bring them on my journey with me. But the other thing I learned long ago is you cannot work harder at making people happy than they're willing to work on themselves.
Yeah,
And we can't change other people no matter what, and no matter how hard we try. It just
that's
doesn't work.
and that's a golden nugget right there. You're not accountable for what other people believe or say or feel. You're accountable for what you believe, what you feel, what you say, what you act, what your habits are. You can't be accountable for others. So
Hmm.
it's okay for people to think differently.
Yeah.
Let them do
And
them and
that's,
you.
it's such a huge message I want my children to learn too, is it just doesn't matter what other people say. So if one brother says something like, they don't do it very often, but you're, I don't know, a silly goose or whatever they might say. And then the younger one will say, he called me a silly goose, and he doesn't define you. Are you a silly goose? Like, yeah, I'll talk to him later about saying things that are kind, but you know, nobody else defines you. None of what they say matters. Do you think you are? No, but I don't like when people say it. Okay, well, if people say it around you, then you walk away from them. You walk away and you say, I got no time for your slime. Like,
With the choice of giving it power or not giving it power.
yeah, meaning too, meaning. We give
Yeah.
everything meaning. And if you give that meaning that he has any kind of say of what you are or who you are or what you like and don't like, we give it meaning, everything.
Perfect. You shared so much with us, Stacey. Any last little nugget of wisdom, any little pearl that you would like to leave with people? Maybe a firm belief of yours. What would you say is the belief that underpins the essence of you?
Oh, oh my gosh. Anything is possible. Anything is possible. And you just put one foot in front of the other, one step in front of the other, and just keep believing that anything is possible and that life is very short and very precious, and to soak it up and don't spend another minute complaining, because we have so much to be grateful for. Gratitude has saved me in a lot of different times, and to just live it. Don't live with regret, and don't end up on your deathbed with regret. Like, do everything that you can to live your life to the fullest, and to make sure that your children do too. And just remember, they're little tiny beings with little tiny brains, and they just need our guidance. I have a million little nuggets, so just stop me, because I'll just keep going.
I love it. Stacey, thank you so much. Thank you for being here with us today and for sharing so many of those pearls of wisdom and that journey. It's such an interesting journey, and I know it's going to inspire so many people to start thinking, well, maybe there is another way, whether it's the way they live their life or whether it's the way they create that relationship with their family.
Yeah.
There are better ways always. There's an evolution that we're going through, and you've been an amazing exponent of that. So thank you, Stacey.
Oh, of course, my pleasure. That was super fun. So we got to do it again soon.
Definitely. Stacey will be back for more. But in the meantime, you will have so many wonderful nuggets from this episode from our Stacey, sharing all those tips and techniques and amazing ways for you to be able to tap into your limitless potential, just like she does for her, and how it affects her family. So have a great day, everybody, and enjoy your limitless potential. And we will see you soon for another episode.